So there was a lot of interest in an earlier video I did using my first rail system, based primarily around a Pro-Aim rails rig with a couple of red rock pieces added in. Since that time I've been doing sort of a lot of work sort of tweaking the system, finding many flaws, and buying horrendous amounts of equipment to get around most of those flaws. I've pretty much got the entire rig done. It's about 99% done. There's a couple of little bits and pieces I want to tweak, but there's always something to do. But I figured now's as good a time as any to put together a video showing my latest rig and some of the benefits compared to, say, the older rig, which I've had a lot of people asking questions about. Just about to fly out for the World Cup, and we're going to be shooting the entire thing on DSLRs, which is very exciting and nerve-wracking at the same time. Had the custom foam for the Pelican case cut, just arrived the other day, so let's go and have a look at what the new rig looks like and how it performs. Okay, so here we've got the Pelican 1620 case. I spent a lot of time choosing the correct case for this rig. I had a couple of requirements, and one of them is I needed it to be quite deep, and effectively the 1620 is the deepest of the Pelican cases, and you'll see why in a second. So go on and open up this puppy. So here's the custom case foam that have been cut. For those of you who are in Australia, or more specifically Melbourne, and you need custom foam cut, I can highly recommend Aerolite Industries. They do an amazing job at cutting custom foam, as I think you can see. And straight away you can see here why I needed the deep, the depth of the 1620, is because if I go down here, you'll see the handle of the CPM rig raises up. And so I had to get a channel cut in the top of the Pelican to allow that. But the benefit of this is I can now just pull out the CPM cage and it's ready to go pretty much straight away. A couple of other bits and pieces you'll see in here. I've got a hard area here, and this is where we can throw cables and so on. I'm a great fan of storing everything in bags. I use these are actually Eagle Creek bags. I've been using them for a few years now. They're great, they're quite cheap, and it's just very easy to sort all of your bits and pieces into different bags, and so straight away you know where everything is supposed to be. Like so. Couple other bits and pieces. Those of you who are probably familiar with the previous rig, I've been using the Red Rock shoulder support. What I have done, however, is added a longer series of carbon fibre. These are actually CPM carbon fibre struts, and I'm actually using the belly pan, or the base plate, the CPM base plate, as an area for holding. This will be actually where we're going to be popping the radio mic and the Beach-Tech, which is here as well. So that will be sitting on there for when it's used. Couple of things. For those of you who have or are ordering CPM gear in the future, you'll see these quite large little nuts. Apparently they've gone to a smaller style, and you can also get just straight flat nuts as well if you ask nicely of Steve at CPM. I've got the LCD VF here. You'll see I've actually got, and we'll go through a bit more detail in a moment, but I've actually got a lanyard with a clip on it. That's because I like to sort of attach it to my camera. We're doing some stuff recently where we're going to be shooting outside of a helicopter, and the last thing you want is bits coming off your camera. This is the primary lens I've been using with my Canon for a while now. I've got access to quite a variety of Canon L series glass and so on, but I've actually been really happy with this. It's a Sigma 24-70 2.8 lens. It's a honking lens. It's a really heavy lens. It's an giant 85mm glass, so the filters are a little bit of a pain. But it's constant aperture 2.8 throughout the entire range, and I've been incredibly happy with the results of that. Last couple of bits and pieces. LED light, very useful. I know a lot of people sort of say that, you know, DSLRs don't need any light, you don't need, you know, they can shoot in almost zero light and so on. However, this is true, but when you've got the ability to then control where you want to have a couple of little highlights and so on, especially on camera interviews and so on, these little LED lights are awesome. This particular one runs off AA's, pretty much every Sony camcorder battery and Panasonic as well, and I've just mounted in, so by default they come with a mount that the flash hot or cold shoe mount. What I've done is I've tapped through and mounted on a spigot on it, so I can actually mount this on a micro clamp, for instance. Then deep inside here I've also got this little fella. This is a little 4-inch LCD screen that I bought online. It's designed actually as a reversing camera, and with a Dremel I trimmed down the base plate to make it the same width as the cold shoe or the flash shoe on the Canon camera, and you're actually able to mount this LCD on the top of the camera. The reason for that is I've had situations, and I'm sure we all have, where the camera's down low, you can't actually see the LCD. Now this little LCD just allows me to get framing. Now look, it's not awesome picture quality, it's enough to check focus and so on, but it's just another little way that you can sort of, depending on what you're trying to shoot, you can sort of make sure you get the shot. So I'll pop those back. Then in the side here I've got all the baffles and flags for my matte box, which funnily enough I very rarely use, and then recently I needed to use it and I hadn't actually got around to keep bringing them with me. So here we've got the Red Rock handlebars, pretty happy with those, and then down here the springed pole for the when using the system with a harness. However, having said that, with the new CPM rig, it is significantly lighter than my old rig, and I've found that I'm quite happy holding it without the spring support, but it's always useful to have that just in case. Okay, so here we have the updated CPM cage rig. I've actually got it mounted on my tripod just to make life a bit easier for me here. A couple of things about it. Firstly, I'm using the full rail, CPM rail. This is the standard one, not the wide module which I think they're coming out with fairly shortly, or the higher ones which they designed for some of the bigger DSLR cameras. And then on the front here I've got the half cage, which doesn't go all the way around. Might as well go from the bottom up. The first thing in here is the plate that I'm using, the base plate to hold the camera kit. Is a sort of originally was a Pro Aim base plate, and it's been modified to suit. What I basically did was the Pro Aim base plate went from here all the way to about that there. It was a big giant lump of metal, way too heavy, and it was really just over-constructed for what I needed. So I cut it in half. Basically I just slopped it in, cut it directly down the middle. And then the other thing I did was the genius who invented whose job it was to figure out where to put the mounting screw on a standard 7D, did so that the mounting screw does not line up with the lens. So the mounting screw is roughly here, the lens is over here. This causes a bit of a problem when you put it on most base plates. The camera is not centered down the rails. When you start to put things like matte boxes on and viewfinders and so on, this becomes a bit of an issue.